We are in Newburgh, New York today. We were driving up from West Point and the lovely research assistant said, hey, there's a George Washington headquarters sign. Let's go follow that sign. So we did, and she has discovered this phenomenal George Washington headquarters building. Now, George Washington headquarters buildings are known with some sarcasm because there are so many of them. He had so many headquarters. The significant thing about this particular building is that it was his last headquarters. He stayed in it for, I think she said, April of '82 to August of '83, I think is what she said. And that is a long time for any headquarters, but especially in that day and age, especially in Washington's time in the Revolution. This was a very, very significant headquarters. The reason why is because Yorktown had already been done, and he was just more or less following up, keeping the army intact. The British surrendered, the British agreed to terms. However, the British would not surrender to weakness. If we disbanded our armies and sent Washington home, they could have and probably would have continued the war in spite of their surrender and their word. So that's what makes this significant. Rochambeau came here and met Washington after the Treaty of Paris was signed, and they had their final farewell, whereas in all the other previous meetings between them it had been strategy conferences and things like that. Rochambeau, of course, was in charge of the French expeditionary force to aid America in, I should say, the colonies in defeating the British. And they came here and had their final goodbye. We're just gonna, there's a huge, really super cool monument over there. I'm assuming it's Washington. We looked at it, we photographed it. We really don't know too much about it at this point. We'll have to do some more investigation later. But we're just gonna run around and film the building from the outside. We can't go in. We came on a Tuesday. They're closed Monday and Tuesday, but thankfully the gates were open, so we're happy about that. At least, I mean, if I didn't get to go inside, it's no big deal compared to being able to be here and know what this is about. I mean, we're probably 10 miles, 15 miles, if that, north of West Point. We literally we left West Point. So Washington is sort of in a beautiful, beautiful spot. Of course, there would have been tents dotting the countryside. Who knows how many of those houses there would have been there. And I think we should say now that Newburgh is essentially, at least this part of it is essentially a ghetto. It's a slum. And we're less than 1,000 yards from the water, so it's unusual, in my experience with waterfront property, to have that, but that's what they have here. So anyway, here we have some kind of super cool plaque. I'm saying super cool because it's on Washington's headquarters property, so it's got to be super cool. Sod from this spot was enhanced with the sod from the grave of Judson Galloway, Bella Woods, France. Oh, that's from World War I, but that's still pretty cool. That's American Legion. That's where we can't go in at. In New York and not Florida, they had cellars that they kept stuff in. In this case, the termites have done their due diligence.
Johnny.
I don't know a lot about this over here. Oh. Triple down. I don't know a lot about this over here, but apparently a grave. And I'm just going to interpret it based on experience. It says, erected by the Newburgh Guard Catholic Regiment in 1860. So I'm assuming New York, NYSM means New York State Militia. And over here, it says the last of the lifeguards used all Knapp, born in 1759, died in 1856. Monmouth, Valley Forge, Yorktown, those are all battles. So I'm assuming this was a Revolutionary War veteran soldier who fought in those campaigns and passed away in 1856 and was the last of the so-called lifeguards, which would probably been a militia formed from men of this area. So that's, assuming that's his grave. It certainly doesn't look like that to me. I'm not going to walk all the way down and look at it, but it's an imposing monument. Oh, nice. Lafayette, I didn't even notice all that. Nice. Good job. Princess Marian. Green, Nathaniel Green. John Knox. Putnam. Later on during this trip we're going to see some where Jonathan Knox traveled north through the frozen tundra and took guns, cannon from Fort Ticonderoga, brought them down to New York City on sleds, frozen in a time when it was totally frozen. And at the time of the revolution, the world was in what we scientists have now come to term the little ice age, the mini ice age. It wasn't an ice age, but the temperatures are far, far colder than they are now. And again, we're not going to go out there and check it out right now, but we've been out there before a few months ago and photographed it. But that's a ginormous monument to, I'm assuming, is Washington. It doesn't really say anything on it that I can see. There's some words regarding liberty and stuff like that on a plaque on the other side, but there's two spiral staircases in it that you can go up, and of course now it's all walled off, and partially because they're closed and partially because of the area that we're in. So we're going to go around, see the front of the house, this side of the house, the front of the house, and check out this really neat statue, Minuteman statue, and continue on our journey until the loveliest of research assistant finds us something else to look for. These are the best things to find, the things you don't expect. So let's see what the side of the house looks like. And this would have been a 17th century house, or no, I'm sorry, an 18th century house. Although this area was settled in the middle of the 17th century by Dutch and German. We don't know much about the etymology of this particular structure other than it would have been built before he was here. So Washington's headquarters, provisions, exceptional, bing, bing, bing. Not much more to it than that. Washington's headquarters. Very, very beautiful. Minuteman statue. We'll look at that. November 11, and I can't read the rest of those Roman numerals, so it's probably 1924 maybe. Not sure. I know M means 50, so maybe it means 70. Well, it could mean 74, it's not that old. But anyway, that's the plaque for that. Very cool, standard, classic Minuteman statue. The kind they have in Boston and Lexington and wherever. Gorgeous tree. I wonder if that's a witness tree. The tree's been there a very long time. This house has 3 chimneys. This would have been a substantial house back in the day. You read whose house this was, but didn't you? I forget. Do you recall?
Whose house it was?
Right. I thought you, in some of the stuff you were reading, it said that, but I don't know. None of it's funny. Okay. Okay, this is called the Hasbrouck House. Hasbrouck, classic German name or Dutch name. So, for now, we're going to continue on our journey. But this was an incredible find, brought to you by the lovely research assistant. Say goodnight to the folks, honey.